Hello, my beauties. Welcome. Come in, sit down, take a breath. So happy to have you here today. I'm going to be talking about something that is very special: relationships. And I am thankful that our society, our culture is starting to shift away from, well, it feels like it's starting to shift away from such a emphasis, particularly with women, on being in relationships and our womanhood being judged solely on whether or not we have a partner in our lives or not. And I really feel like this shift is so necessary, so needed, because there are so many fulfilling relationships we can that have nothing to do with romance, that have nothing to do with sex, and none of those are more important than the relationship that we have with ourselves. You can't have a relationship with anybody that you aren't willing to pour into yourself. It is the only way you're going to have a great relationship, is measured by what kind of relationship you have with yourself. And for me, I was single for a very long time. I had a high school boyfriend when I was 17 that lasted 5 years. And then he and I broke up. And then I got into another relationship early in my 20s. And we were together until my mid to late 20s. And then we broke up. And then I was single pretty much from the age of 31, 32 until 40. So I was single for a very, very long time. And I was dating people. I would have a 1 month dating relationship here, 2 months there, 6 months here, even sometimes as long as a year, 2 years. But it never really felt like I had found a really good connection. And I know now that it was because I was so focused on connecting with someone else as opposed to me connecting with myself. And it wasn't until I moved away from where I grew up that I really had the opportunity to build something on my own, because I didn't know anybody. I was fresh to the city. I didn't know it was such a culture shock for me getting to that city. It was Seattle. I moved there. Literally, I thought on a Tuesday, I was like, wow, I should probably go to Seattle to see if it will work out this relationship could work out with this person. And then by the next week, I had already gotten an apartment, moved in, and had already, was already there living in Seattle. But that relationship didn't work out either, but that's another story. But I'm so thankful that I did, because I was able to really, really connect with myself, because like I said, I had no community there. And it's very challenging when you live in such a densely populated city and you still feel so alienated, especially someone like myself. I am an introvert. I have always been an introvert. Crowds freak me out a little bit. It's very strange how I feel more comfortable talking in front of a lot of people rather than sometimes talking in a small group of people, like 3 or 5. I feel very awkward. But if it's like 100, 150, I feel much more at home. I'm much more comfortable with that. But that's, ABCs of me. So anyway, moved to Seattle, had a relationship, didn't work out. But here are three ways that I was able to nourish the relationship with myself, cultivate the relationship with myself, and continue to foster and grow. So the first thing that I did started when I was really young. I had always been a romantic. I listened to romantic music. I loved love songs. I loved I loved movies that were romantic. And I used to be embarrassed about it. It used to be really embarrassing how tender they would make me feel on the inside. But this one way switched everything. So I remember in my apartment in Seattle, I had a huge window that overlooked a street, and there were these great big trees right outside the window. And I remember I would listen to these love songs I had listened to my entire life, and something clicked, and I started to sing the song as if I was singing, as if these were proclamations to a higher self, to a higher creator, to a higher intelligence. So it went from a kind of self-indulgence of, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so heartbroken, I'm feeling so sad, to a kind of worship and a kind of praise. And it really made things shift for me in terms of listening to the music, digesting what it said, and really kind of not taking it literally, but using the words as a guideline as to, okay, how can I apply this in my life? How can I use this to make my circumstances easier, my circumstances better? And lo and behold, little by little, not putting too much emphasis in it, the more I was consciously aware of intending to say these words to a higher creation, the less alone I felt. Now, if you're not grounded in anything spiritual, or if things like that tend to make you feel uneasy, I completely understand. There has been a lot of trauma that is associated with certain religion or religious ideologies, and that's perfectly normal. But if you can't ground yourself in a creator per se, there are copious things that you can ground yourself in. You can ground yourself in the ancestors, which we all have ancestors. We all have people who lived lives before us, had full, rich lives of loss and hunger and love and all these things prior to us being here on this planet. So speak to them. If it's not the ancestors that you feel comfortable talking to, whatever you hold on to, whatever rings true for you, speak those words to that as if you are intending to give reverence, give revelry to something outside yourself. Because, what we're doing when we are loving, we are calling forth the highest version of ourselves. It's not about the other person per se. It really is about ourselves and what we are capable of. So, now, I see it all the time now, and it just makes me feel so much joy when I see people and they're skating, they're biking, they're on a run, and they're just like singing music unbeknownst to everybody around them with their earbuds in, or, they're working out and they're just singing. Voice is terrible, but they're just in the moment, and I love that. So that's the first thing that I did, that I was intentional with these words. The second thing that I did was I romanticized my wardrobe. I am a woman who is attracted both to men and women. And when I have a I go through phases where mostly I've been in relationship with men and, done other things with women. And it's kind of gone back and forth. But I really do find that when I am intentional with bringing out the most authentic femininity in myself through my clothing, that I really do feel romantic. It really does make me feel like za, za, za. It makes me feel like I just want to strut down the street. And it doesn't have to be something that's tight fitted or short or any of those things. Whatever I'm feeling, I just go for it. Literally, I have been known to wear the same outfit day after day after day after day just because that's in the mood I'm in. And I'm okay with that. I am perfectly okay with that. So romanticize your wardrobe for yourself, for your gaze, because we are so, especially as women, we can't see ourselves, or the only way we see ourselves is by which the person that we are wanting to attract, how they see us. And you will always be chasing after that. if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for seeing yourself through the eyes of someone else, how they see you, that is a fleeting thing. They could want to see you like this on a Monday, and by Thursday they want this. So you really do have to ground yourself in what it means to be authentically yourself and how that emerges. And take chances. I worked in retail for almost a decade, and I was so thankful. I mean, now I'm thankful. At the time, I hated it. But I worked in retail, and I was able to play with my wardrobe. You know, I was exposed to so many different styles of clothing for so long. And again, being an introvert, I like to communicate with what I have on before I say words out of my mouth. And whether we like it or not, we are judged by the way that we look. That's just the fact. So take pride in what you're wearing, even if it's the same thing you wore yesterday, whatever, and romanticize your wardrobe. It'll make a difference. Okay, so one of the last things that I did and that I was very, very very, very intentional with is that I was very particular with the people that I surrounded myself with. I always wanted and unconsciously desired to have very deep and meaningful connections with people. And I always kind of had that innately in me. I was always very connected to myself and my own being. I can't explain why that is, but because it was so deep in me, it's always going to be a reflection of what you attract, what is the most true to you. So it was very easy for me to decipher between people who weren't after the same things that I was after. I am after those authentic connections. For me, it's all about quality, not quantity. So if there were people who I was around who were speaking of their partners in a foul way, or they, had disdain for the people who they had dated previously, I was always listening. I was always paying attention, because words are things and they get on the walls, they get in your consciousness, and before you know it, you are bombarded and clouded with all of these words that may not have been even yours, but they're having a substantial influence on you. So be mindful of the people who you are hanging around. If the things that they're saying and the behavior they are enacting does not align with the things that you desire in terms of a romantic partnership or any kind of situation, you need to figure out a way to remove yourself from them. Just flat out. Or you have to decide that, okay, I'm going to be around this person or in this environment for this specific reason. And just know that you have a limit, you have an objective. Go into it with that mind frame and be okay with whatever is on the other side, and make adjustments as necessary. But I know for me, I am very susceptible to, or I can be very susceptible to outside influence, and I want to be inspired by life. I want to live a very conscious and spiritual life. So that is so I need to be very keen about the stimulus that I take in. I can't watch scary movies because I'll have nightmares. I can't listen to certain type of music because it will really have an effect on me. I am not impervious to the world around me, which is why I'm so intentional on creating a space where other sensitive people can come to, where we nourish each other and give each other support, because there are just people out there like us that are just sensitive to the world. And this world, unfortunately, has bought into the consciousness of scarcity, of negativity, of bitterness, of resentfulness, of inferiority, all of those things that have absolutely nothing to do with the actual world that we live in. And if you don't believe me, next time you are out in the world, not in your car, but go for a walk somewhere, and have a moment or have a few moments of silence and just look around. Look around and see how many things that you can name. it is going to be impossible for you to name every little thing that you see. Why? Because this earth that we live on is abundant. And we are reflections of that. It's just that we have adopted a consciousness over years and years. But I'm here to break that. I'm here to say that there is an alternative. There is a different way. Be intentional with the people you choose around you, because it will have an effect on you. It will. It'll have an effect on the food that you eat, the music that you listen to. Sometimes I listen to this music that these kids be making, and I come from a different generation of like quality music, and I just think to myself, who is really listening to this? And then I catch myself listening to a couple words, and I'm like, what are they even saying? But it's not for me. Not everything is for me, and that's okay. That is okay. So romanticize your wardrobe. Be intentional about the people you allow in your space, and give reverence to what you are attempting to create. Give reverence to it. Speak about it as if it's already here sitting in front of you, because you know what? If you're sitting here watching this video, it is right in front of you. So whether you're single, whether you are dating, whether you are celibate, wherever you are on the spectrum, your place is valid, you are necessary, and you already possess all the skills that you need to acquire whatever you want. So please watch this next video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, my friends.